Hey, beautiful souls, welcome to the Everyday Mystic, where we demystify the mystical and transform your everyday life into one of greater meaning, higher purpose, and true joy. I love doing these solo casts because I'm reminded about why I started this podcast in the first place. Yes, it's to have these incredible conversations with the guests that I'm bringing to you, but it's also to spend this time with myself. And I know that may sound like a selfish indulgence to why I started a podcast, but I'm being honest. Really, I started this podcast so that I could be in conversation with my soul and with other people's souls in the time frame that we have, the half hour to hour period that we have together. And I believe that we're also having conversations with you, the listener, conversations that are a combined energetic container where we get to enter into space and time together and share in this kind of energetic download. So thank you, listeners. That's the first thing I want to say as I launch into this last episode of 2023, this last episode of 1 year of podcasting. I released an episode a week, just missing 1 week, I think, out of the year. And it's been an incredible, amazing, life fulfilling journey, and one that I wouldn't be on if it weren't for supportive listeners like yourselves who have sent me notes and have written wonderful reviews and have commented on Instagram and subscribed to the podcast or onto the YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to all of my incredible guests over 2023 who took the plunge with me on a whole new venture where we had 0 listeners at the beginning. And my guests this year are special, special people who believed in the message of the Everyday Mystic, that we're here to share that we're all mystics, that we all have this divine connection to source consciousness, to God consciousness, to the energy of all that is. And these guests, whether friends or not, also believed in me and being somebody who could bring this message forth to the world as well. So thank you so much to every single one of the guests who came on in 2023. And thank you to you, the listeners who have spent time sharing the episodes as well. If you have been served and helped or guided in any way by these episodes and you think that someone else might be, I really urge you to share the podcast or your special episode, the one that moved you, with them. I believe that we're all here to teach and show the way to each other. And as a recent guest said, we're all here to show each other the way home. And I believe that to be true, that none of us are in any better state to teach the other. It's just your willingness to open up and pass that along. And a teaching could be as minor as sharing a podcast episode with someone, or sharing a book title with them, or sharing something that you came across that moved you, that awoke in you, that helped you in some way. Sometimes teaching is more subtle, to where we teach through simply being. And by taking on new practices and being more closely attuned to your higher self and more integrated within yourself, you teach by being more connected and more grounded and more aligned with your soul. So whether or not you ever go on and create a course to teach or do a podcast interview or share your teachings in any way, you're still sharing your teachings by simply being you. on the flip side of that, we're also sharing our teachings, the unconscious teachings that we've come across. And that's why I believe it's so important to get conscious to who we really are, which is a soul on a mission in this body, having gone through the experiences that we've gone through in order to learn certain lessons and gain certain gifts that we can pass along to other people. If we spend time in victimhood and in lack and in fear and in a place where we are just consumed by the experiences rather than transmuted by the experiences, we don't gain the gold and the gift to pass on to others. And what we end up passing on to others is more of the fear, the trauma, the pain, the suffering, the struggle. Luckily, we're all here with the same amount of essentially internal resources. Some of us might feel like we don't have the same amount of external resources, but on this journey, that doesn't matter. It's the internal resources that we can turn to at any time to look within and find within and to lean on within, to open ourselves up beyond the stories, beyond the experiences, to see what are the gifts, what's the light here for me, what's my soul guiding me to. So we get to do that if we so choose. And if you don't, then like I said, you're just passing on other types of lessons. And those lessons, if you become conscious to it, and if you are open to our impacts, each of our own individual impacts on all of humanity, on the planet as a whole, and all of the beings that are here, if you connect in any way to that, then you can also connect to this, that we are all responsible for what we pass on. We're teaching no matter what. We are teaching by showing and modeling to others what our belief systems are. And if those belief systems are that we are in lack and in pain and in fear and this is hell on earth, then that's what we'll pass along. But if we are in the place of and living from love and openness and abundance and heaven on earth, we get to pass that along as well. I hope that the podcast this year has been a ways and means for you to open more to your true nature so that you can not only learn about what that connection is and that true nature is, but so that you can discover all of the beautiful gifts that you hold within you. And then share those gifts, that beauty, that love with one another. And, with the planet too. We're not here alone. We're here with many beings, many creatures, talking everything from animal to plant to mineral matter to all the spirits that we reside here with, as well as our fellow humans. How to deepen my intuition and to truly trust it. I have, always had a strong sense of intuition. We all do. It's just whether or not we choose to trust it, whether or not we choose to listen. You can hear something, you can get a whisper of something, you can get, this little tap, like, this might be something for you, or this is not something for you. And then we get to choose whether or not we're going to listen to that, do something following that path, or not, or to just go back to sleep and quiet ourselves back down into unconsciousness. So this consciousness journey for me has really been a gift of strengthening and trusting my intuition to where that is the first place I go. It's the first place I go every morning. It's the last place I go every night. And then in between during the day, I'm also guided by it as well. And intuition it has a lot of different definitions for people depending on what your beliefs are. But my belief is that our intuition is our soul's language. It's our soul speaking for us, through us, as us. And the more that we tune into our intuition, the more we are entrusting our soul. And the more that you entrust your soul, the more that it speaks up and guides you and is there for you. That's just like anybody, right? If we trust and put more trust into another human in our life, they're going to open up, show up more for you. That's just the way that it all works. And so we're doing that with ourselves, with our higher self, when we listen to and follow the guidance of our intuition. We talked a lot about guides throughout this year, and I have a strong connection to my guides. And I've also had this evolutionary process with the understanding of my guides over this last year. And depending again on your beliefs and what feels right for you. And I say that because this is an individual journey. This is your journey that me or any other podcaster or any other coach or healer or teacher for you is here to support you on, guide you on, show you, a direction, but you ultimately choose the path and the way you walk that path. So for you, your intuition might be coming through really strongly through a sense of your own inner hearing. You hear a voice within you. And someone else's intuition might be that they just kind of know. They just like, it's a hunch. They feel it. They know it. Don't know how. They just do. And other people's intuition is just, they see the signs everywhere. It's like popping up all over the place. Oh, and it's this guidance. So guidance or intuition that comes as guidance can come from guides themselves. And those guides themselves could be your spirit guides that are coming through, maybe through an animal or a element, or maybe it's coming through a deceased loved one. And that's how it's best heard by you. Or that guide or guidance could be coming through an angel voice. All of these different types of guides, ascended masters and angels and light beings and deceased loved ones, I believe they all exist as forms. But what has evolved for me over this last year is that they're all one voice. And this goes back to the oneness that, I experienced in my initial spiritual awakenings, this oneness that we all are, and we all come from, is the same as the guidance that might come from a guide. The guidance is this oneness energy or coming from that same oneness energy. And if you hear it best coming from a deceased loved one, then great. That's how you experience it. And that's that's the best messenger. But for me, it's starting to come through as just this one voice, this one knowing, this oneness, no matter who the messenger is. So that's been a really interesting evolution for me over the last year. Some of you might be starting to just get familiar with guides, might be, like I said, hearing it through an entity that has a name, and that has a personality even. So however those messages come to you, come to us, I think the one thing that we all should be aware of is to just be open to what the message is, and then sit with it. Allow it to move through you rather than just taking whatever that message is at face value. Allow the symbology of that message to unfold within you. Feel it through you. Does it feel like the right guidance? Does it resonate completely with you? And you're like, oh, yeah, 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 yeah. If there are doubts, where are those doubts coming from? Are those doubts coming from an inner critic or your ego or something else? Or are they doubts coming from your truth? So sitting with information that comes into and through us is an important element of all this. It's not just, oh, we just trust anything that comes in. We learn to trust, and then we also learn to discern, maybe in a quicker way, by being on the path and just by working these types of practices and gifts more readily. So over time, it might be instantaneous that happens for you, that you something comes in, you discern, and you make the judgment, and it's there, you're done, and it was over seconds ago. But as you practice and get used to all of this, it is a matter of really tuning in to the self and tuning into your own inner calibrator. So what do I mean by calibration? Calibration, just like, a tool that we measure with, we're going to calibrate that tool every so often so that it's measuring correctly, right? So we have a way and means of measuring truth, measuring information, energy that comes in through us. And we can understand that through our own internal mechanisms. But we also need to calibrate those mechanisms to ultimate truth, or to the sources from outside of us that are here to help serve and guide us. So that might be through the practice of yoga, or it might be through breath work, or it might be through a psychedelic journey, or through a shamanic experience and journey. Maybe it's through a movement practice or a channeled journaling practice. It might be through meditation and activated guidance and visualization. There's so many ways to tune ourselves, tune this instrument, because we are an instrument of source consciousness. We are the housing, the vessel for our soul to reside in this lifetime. So as you go into 24 and this new year, which it's popular, of course, to do different resolutions, right? And a lot of people do dry Januaries and try to, get back on track or at least start the year off on a good track. When you go into this new year, I hope that one of the guiding lights for you as you set some goals for yourself is, what practices and what behaviors and actions can I take on or not take on that are going to help me calibrate this vessel into being the best and clearest receiver of information from the divine. And the more we get attuned to that, the more we realize we are one with that we are the divine, the more that it becomes easy to tap into it. But we, of course, still live in these human bodies, and we've got all of this stuff going on in our lives, of course. And those things mean something. It's not that we just ignore everything that's happening in the physical world, but we get to approach what's happening in the physical world differently and through a clearer vessel or with a clearer vessel and with the support of source consciousness coming through us and helping to guide our experience and helping to answer the questions, big and small, for us, to be able to show us the way when our minds, our egos might be a little confused about what way to go. This is the mystical life. This is being an everyday mystic, of where we settle into this and this becomes life. It's not just something we go and do on a 2-week retreat or a weekend retreat. It's not just something we do in our 20s when we have an existential crisis. It's not just something that we do because we are in crisis. We live from this place of divinity. And being an everyday mystic means that we are utilizing a lot of everyday practices. And it also means that we're just everyday people living this way. You don't need to be an ordained, you've heard this many times in past episodes where, you don't need to become some ordained mystic by some mystical school that's giving you some mystical badge of honor. You just get to step into it because this is who we are. And it's just an acceptance of that. And it's a welcoming back ourselves into this life, our true selves into this life, to live a better life from it all. And that's ultimately the goal here. It's not a huge purpose, if you will, or the mission isn't massive. It's to live a joyful life. It's to share our gifts with one another. It's to express and receive love. Now, these are big concepts that not everybody is great at, but it's not complicated. So 23 in the year of podcasting and all of the incredible people that I got to speak to over this last year have deepened me more into this truth, this understanding, and into the welcoming back of my soul in its fullness and entirety. And I hope it's done something like that for you too. We've got some incredible stuff in store for 24. I've launched the Everyday Mystic website. So if you haven't gone and checked that out, go and check out the everydaymystic.org. It's a membership-based website so that you can join our community and become an everyday mystic by connecting to a bunch of the past guests who have beautiful offerings. These are complimentary sessions with them. These are discounts off their programs and their products. These are eventually collaborative events and retreats that we're going to do together. So there's a lot coming down the pike and in store for you in 24. But for now, go on to the everydaymystic.org. You can sign up as a member for free and instantly access all of these beautiful offerings from all of these different providers. And then for those of you who are providers, who are professionals in this space, there is a new mastermind membership level that you can join through the everydaymystic.org as well. So check that out and certainly get in touch with me if you have questions. And if you're interested in applying, you can go ahead and do that on the website. So we launched the everydaymystic.org website at the end of the year, just a couple weeks ago. And that's going to take us into 24 and all of these new and beautiful directions, which I don't know what those are. I'm letting spirit guide this entire journey and process. So there's, yes, some things I want to have the everyday mystic do, but really I'm allowing it as an entity to become itself. What that becomes, I can't tell you right now because I haven't planned it, because I'm just letting it become. So you're just on this journey with us to see where it all goes. So sign up on the website, become a member, and get on the ride with us. We've also got some really incredible podcast episodes lined up for you for 24. The first one releasing on January 5th with my friend, actor, environmentalist, entrepreneur, investor, farmer, now also husband and father, Adrian Grenier, is going to be our first podcast episode of the year. And it's an incredible conversation that I'm so excited to share with you, where he talks all about his spiritual journey, his return back home after he hit rock bottom in his early 40s. So join me for that amazing episode. And the episode after that will be released is Ting Ting Guan. She's the founder and the creator of the Guanjing method. Look it up. It's incredible. When I saw her move and when I heard her speak on another podcast, I knew I wanted her to help us move into a really beautiful, flowing, receptive 24. And so I hope that those episodes help to kick off an incredible 2024 for the podcast, for you, for this community. So get excited and ready for all of that to come your way. On a personal note, I'm also launching a new I don't even know what to call it yet, but it is a new project at the moment with my husband, which is, that in and of itself is such a beautiful gift for me, because we get to do something so meaningful together. And it's like birthing again. Our son is now 12, and, we went through the birth process, obviously all the stages, right? The stages of conception and then gestation, and then all the early days and all of these times that weren't so easy for us, where we had some dark times ourselves, to where things were not looking great for our marriage. And coming to a place after years of repair and years of our own individual healing and our own growth as people, to come back to a place where we can actually conceive of and want and desire to create something together, something outside of a child, a business and a movement together, is so exciting for me, so beautiful, because it is a pinnacle of what we've reached as a couple and what we've reached as a family, to be able to be in those shoes and to be in that walk that we get to experience not only our personal life together, but bringing something out into the world. And we're in the state to where, and a really beautiful, healthy state where we can do that. So I'm excited to share more of what that's all about with you. My website, CorissaSt.Laurent.com, which has been down for a little while as I rebuild the site. It's going to be relaunched in the new year, and you'll be able to access what that other project is on that website, as well as the things that I'm focusing on in 24. I just, I'm going to leave it at gratitude. And I'm going to leave it in my wishes for you, anybody who's listening, to find your path back home into yourself, your higher self, the self that knows all things, the self that is healed, that is whole, the self that is soul and is connected to source, the self that is all knowing, all feeling, all wise, the self that is the incarnation of love. If this podcast helps you get there in any way, shape, or form, I'll feel completely fulfilled. I mean, I feel fulfilled anyway, just by doing this and putting this out there. For me, it is an honor to get to be on this mic and to share my own thoughts and channeled insights and wisdom, and share people and conversations with you. That's an honor in and of itself. It is the reason I do this anyway. But if it also helps you, supports you, transforms you, guides you in any way, I just know that it's part of my mission that I'm fulfilling, and it just feels amazing. So thank you for being part of my mission, and thank you for tuning in and being here throughout this incredible journey. And let's go into 24. Let's go further and deeper and into more expanded places, both in ourselves and in these unseen realms. I can't wait for what the future brings and holds for you, for me, for all of us. I shall see you on the side. I shall see you on the other side, my friends. Happy 23. Mwah. Here's to a beautiful 2024. And thank you again, beautiful souls.